Admiral Zektar's crystalline fingers drummed against the command console as he stared at the tactical display. The Galactic Council's most advanced fleet surrounded the small blue planet, their weapons powered and ready. 27 different species had contributed ships to this armada, each one eager to claim their share of the spoils from what they believed would be an easy conquest. The humans called their world Earth, and for 3 cycles, they had been nothing more than a curiosity to the galaxy. A species that had somehow survived on a Class 12 death world, they had been discovered by Trader Velnon during a routine mineral survey. The discovery should have been reported to the Science Division for study, but Velnon had seen an opportunity instead. Zektar remembered the reports with bitter clarity. The humans possessed remarkable technology for such a primitive species. Their materials science was centuries ahead of galactic standard. Their medical knowledge could extend lifespans even for the long-lived Etherians, and their computational systems operated on principles that most species couldn't comprehend. But what made them truly valuable was their military doctrine. These Deathworlders had been fighting each other for millennia. They understood warfare in ways that the peaceful galaxy had forgotten after 10,000 years of council-mediated conflicts. When the Velkari Syndicate had hired human mercenaries to resolve a border dispute, the results had been swift and devastating. The humans didn't just win battles, they ended wars. Word spread quickly through the underground channels. Crime syndicates, rebellious colonies, and ambitious corporations all wanted human soldiers. The pay was exceptional, the contracts were lucrative, and the humans seemed happy to fight anyone for the right price. For 3 years, they had been the galaxy's most sought-after mercenaries. But now the Council had decided that enough was enough. The humans were becoming too influential, too wealthy, and too dangerous. They had to be stopped before they upset the delicate balance that had kept the galaxy peaceful for so long. "Admiral," came the voice of his communications officer, "the human delegation is requesting permission to board your flagship." Zektar's antennae twitched in surprise. "They want to surrender already?" "Unknown, sir. They simply request an audience." The Admiral considered this for a moment. It would be proper to hear their surrender terms, though he doubted they had much to offer. The Council fleet outnumbered the human vessels by 50 to 1, and intelligence reports indicated that Earth's total population was less than 8 billion. Against the combined might of 27 species, they had no chance. "Very well. Allow 1 shuttle to approach, full escort and scanning protocols." 20 minutes later, Admiral Zektar found himself face-to-face with the strangest delegation he had ever encountered. The lead human was a female of moderate height, with graying hair and sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything they saw. She wore a simple black uniform with minimal decoration, but something about her bearing suggested she was accustomed to command. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force," she said, her voice carrying an odd accent that the translator struggled with. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I am Admiral Zektar, commanding this operation on behalf of the Galactic Council. I assume you wish to discuss surrender terms." The human's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Not exactly. I'm here to present you with an invoice." Zektar's translator squealed in confusion. "A what?" "An invoice. A bill for services rendered." Admiral Chen activated a holographic display that materialized between them. "For the past 3 years, human mercenaries have been hired to fight in conflicts across the galaxy. We have detailed records of every contract, every battle, and every victory. The total value of our services comes to approximately 2.4 trillion galactic credits." The alien admiral stared at the display in bewilderment. "I don't understand. What does this have to do with your surrender?" "We're not surrendering, Admiral. We're collecting a debt." Chen's voice remained calm and professional. "You see, we've discovered something interesting about our employers over the past 3 years. 67% of the contracts we fulfilled were for organizations with direct ties to Council member species. Another 23% were for corporations owned by Council subsidiaries. In essence, the Galactic Council has been our primary customer. Zektar felt a chill run down his spine. That's impossible. The Council doesn't engage in warfare. Officially, no. But unofficially? Chen gestured to the hologram, which shifted to show a complex web of financial connections. The Etherian Collective hired us to suppress the Rim Rebellion. The Velkari Syndicate used our services to eliminate their competitors in the asteroid belt conflicts. The Quill Corporation, owned by Zephyrian interests, employed us to secure mining rights on 17 different worlds. The evidence was damning. Names, dates, financial transfers, all meticulously documented. Zektar realized with growing horror that the humans had been keeping records of everything. Even if this were true, he said carefully, it doesn't change the current situation. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Admiral Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Are we? Tell me, Admiral. What do you know about human military doctrine? You are skilled fighters. This is acknowledged. We're more than skilled fighters. We're survivors. Chen's hologram shifted again, showing star charts and ship movements. For 3 years, we've been studying your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. Every battle we fought for you was also a lesson in how galactic military forces operate. Did you think we weren't paying attention? The human stepped closer, and despite being smaller than most of his bridge crew, Zektar found himself taking a step back. You've been hiring us to solve problems you created, colonial uprisings that began because of unfair taxation, mining disputes that started because of resource theft, pirates and raiders who turned to crime because your trade policies destroyed their economies. We've been cleaning up your messes and charging you for the privilege. The Council maintains order, Zektar protested. The Council maintains control, Chen corrected. There's a difference, but that's not why I'm here. The hologram changed once more, showing detailed schematics of every ship in the surrounding fleet. I'm here because you owe us money, and we intend to collect. Admiral Zektar stared at the displays in shock. The schematics were perfect, down to the smallest component. Weapon placements, shield generators, engine configurations, even the locations of critical life support systems. How did you obtain this information? We built most of it. Chen's tone remained matter-of-fact. Human material science, remember? Those ultralight hull alloys that make your ships faster? Human innovation. The shield generators that can withstand plasma bombardment? Based on technology we developed. The targeting computers that can track 1,000 objects simultaneously? Human programming. The revelation hit Zektar like a physical blow. That's impossible. These technologies were developed by Council scientists over centuries. Were they? Check your records, Admiral. Every major military advancement in the past 50 years has been based on principles first discovered by human researchers. Your species may have refined the applications, but the fundamental breakthroughs came from Earth. Chen gestured toward the viewport, where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the stars. You've been using our technology to build weapons that you now point at our world. Even so, Zektar said weakly, you cannot fight the entire galaxy. We're not fighting the entire galaxy, Admiral Chen replied. We're collecting a debt from clients who refuse to pay their bills. The human touched a control on her wrist, and every screen on the bridge suddenly displayed the same message. Payment due, 2.4 trillion galactic credits, interest accruing daily. You have 24 hours to transfer the funds, Chen continued. If payment is not received, we will be forced to take alternative collection measures. This is preposterous! Zektar finally found his voice. You're in no position to make demands! Admiral Chen tilted her head slightly, as if considering his words. Admiral, are you familiar with the concept of mutually assured destruction? It's a theoretical scenario from primitive civilizations. The idea that two equally powerful forces would destroy each other rather than fight. Not quite, Chen said softly. It's the guarantee that anyone who attacks us will pay such a terrible price that the victory won't be worth the cost. Would you like a demonstration? Before Zektar could respond, every ship in his fleet suddenly went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in on the bridge as the main power systems failed. Communication channels filled with confused reports from captains across the armada. "What did you do?" Zektar demanded. "We turned off your ships," Chen replied calmly. "Every piece of human technology in your fleet just received new programming. Your weapons are offline, your engines are down, and your life support is running on backup power. Don't worry, it's temporary. The systems will restore themselves in about 6 hours." The alien admiral's mind reeled. "This is an act of war." "No, Admiral. This is a business transaction." Chen began walking toward the shuttle bay, her small delegation following behind her. "You have 24 hours to pay what you owe. If you choose not to, we'll be forced to repossess our property." "Your property?" Chen paused at the doorway and looked back. "Every ship in your fleet contains human technology, Admiral. Components that were sold to your species under specific licensing agreements. Agreements that include penalty clauses for use against human interests." Her smile was cold as winter on a death world. "Read the fine print." As the human shuttle departed, Admiral Zektar stood in the darkness of his bridge, listening to the frantic reports from his fleet commanders. 27 species had brought their best ships to this battle, confident in their superiority over a primitive death-world civilization. They were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. In the cargo bay of her shuttle, Admiral Chen activated her personal communicator. "This is Chen. Phase 1 is complete. The Council fleet is neutralized." "Understood," came the response from Earth. "How did they take the invoice?" Chen allowed herself a small smile. "About as well as expected. They still don't understand what we've been doing for the past 3 years. And when they figure it out? Then we move to Phase 2. Chen looked out the shuttle's viewport at the massive fleet surrounding her world. Soon, those ships would either belong to humanity or they would be scrap metal floating in space. It's time to collect what we're owed. The debt owed to the Deathworlders was about to be paid in full, and the galaxy would never be the same. Back on his darkened flagship, Admiral Zektar was beginning to understand the true scope of humanity's plan. For 3 years they had been hired as mercenaries, but they hadn't just been fighting battles. They had been gathering intelligence, studying technology, and positioning themselves for this moment. The humans hadn't been working for the galaxy. The galaxy had been working for them. As emergency power flickered across his bridge, Zektar realized that the peaceful species of the Galactic Council were about to learn what warfare truly meant. They were about to face an enemy that had been preparing for this confrontation since the moment first contact was made. The Deathworlders were coming to collect their due, and payment would be made in blood and steel. Director Halthmere of the Galactic Council's Strategic Planning Division had always prided himself on understanding complex situations. His species, the Moldari, were renowned throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and ability to see patterns where others saw chaos. But as he stared at the reports flooding his office, he felt something his people rarely experienced: complete bewilderment. The human fleet had not fired a single shot, yet somehow they had managed to disable the most powerful armada ever assembled. More disturbing were the financial records his analysts had uncovered. 3 years of mercenary contracts had generated an astronomical debt that the Council apparently owed to a species they had never officially recognized. "Director," his aide announced through the intercom, "Admiral Zektar is requesting immediate Council intervention. His fleet remains powerless, and the humans are broadcasting demands across all communication channels. Halthmere activated his holographic display and connected to the emergency council session already in progress. Representatives from 27 species filled the virtual chamber, their voices creating a cacophony of confusion and anger. "Order!" shouted Chancellor Vorthak, the massive Christian who served as the council's current leader. "We will address this crisis methodically. Director Halthmere, what is your assessment of the human claims?" The Moldari adjusted his flowing robes and cleared his throat. "The documentation they provided appears to be authentic. Our financial auditors have confirmed that the listed transactions did occur, though they were processed through subsidiaries and shell corporations. The humans have been meticulously tracking every contract for 3 years. But how could they have known?" asked Representative Quillin, her avian features ruffled in distress. "The connections between those organizations and council members were classified information." "That," Halthmere said grimly, "is what concerns me most. The humans didn't just stumble upon this information. They systematically gathered it over years of contact with our various organizations. Every mercenary contract they accepted gave them access to new intelligence networks, new financial structures, and new technologies." The chamber erupted in angry voices as representatives realized the implications. The humans hadn't been simple hired guns. They had been conducting the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. "None of this matters," growled General Krextor, the Velkari military representative. "They may have disabled our ships temporarily, but we have backup fleets. We can still crush them." "Can we?" Halthmere brought up a new display showing ship inventories across council space. "According to my analysis, 68% of our military technology contains components based on human innovations. If they can remotely disable these systems, they wouldn't dare attack civilian targets," protested Ambassador Yathara. "That would make them no better than pirates." "Would it?" The voice belonged to Admiral Chen, who had somehow joined their secure communication channel. "Because from where I sit, you look exactly like pirates. You've been stealing our technology, using our services without payment, and now you're threatening our world with military force." Chancellor Vorthak's crystal form pulsed with angry red light. "How did you access this channel? This communication is encrypted with quantum barriers." "We designed those barriers," Chen replied calmly, "along with most of your other security systems. Did you really think we wouldn't keep master keys?" The human admiral's image materialized in the center of the chamber, causing several representatives to recoil. She stood with military bearing, her hands clasped behind her back, seemingly unconcerned by the hostility radiating from every alien present. "Let me be very clear about our position," Chen continued. "For 3 years, you have used human blood and human ingenuity to solve problems that your own incompetence created. You hired us to fight wars that you started, suppress rebellions that your policies caused, and eliminate competitors that threatened your economic dominance. We have fulfilled every contract to the letter, and now we expect payment. Your demands are unreasonable." Chancellor Vorthak's voice resonated through the chamber. "No single species has ever held such wealth." "Then perhaps you shouldn't have run up such a large bill." Chen's expression didn't change. "But I'm prepared to negotiate. We're willing to accept alternative forms of payment." Director Halthmere felt a chill run through his body. "What kind of alternatives?" "Territorial concessions, technology transfers, political representation in the Galactic Council." Chen smiled coldly. "Or we could simply take what we're owed by force." "You're outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1, General Krextor snarled. "Even if you've disabled 1 fleet, we have hundreds more." "Do you?" Chen gestured, and the holographic display changed to show star charts across council space. Red dots began appearing throughout the galaxy, marking locations with startling precision. These represent every military installation, shipyard, and defense platform that contains human technology. As of this moment, all of them are under our control. The chamber fell silent as the scope of humanity's infiltration became clear. The red dots covered nearly every strategic location in known space. Halfmere quickly calculated the numbers and felt his analytical mind stagger under the implications. "This is impossible," he whispered. "You couldn't have compromised so many systems without someone noticing." "We didn't compromise them," Chen replied. "We built them. Every major infrastructure project in the past 50 years has used human contractors, human materials, or human designs. We've been preparing for this moment since the day we made first contact." Ambassador Yathara's voice shook with rage. "This was all planned. You never intended to be our allies." "Allies?" Chen laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You enslaved us from the beginning. You hired us to fight your dirty wars, steal our innovations without credit, and treated us like useful animals. Did you think we would remain grateful forever?" Representative Quillin stepped forward, her diplomatic training overriding her shock. "What do you really want? This can't just be about money." For the first time, Admiral Chen's professional mask slipped, revealing something far more dangerous underneath. "What do we want? We want recognition that humanity is not some primitive species to be exploited. We want acknowledgement that our contributions built most of your modern civilization. We want a voice in galactic affairs proportional to our capabilities." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But most of all, we want you to understand that the age of galactic peace built on ignorance and exploitation is over. The Deathworlders have arrived, and we're not going away." Chancellor Vorthak's crystal form had shifted to a deep purple, indicating extreme agitation. "Even if we agreed to your demands, the other species would never accept human dominance." "Dominance?" Chen shook her head. "We don't want to rule you. We want to be equals. But if you force us to take by violence what should have been given freely, then yes, we will dominate. The choice is yours." Director Halfmere found his voice. "You're asking us to restructure the entire galactic order." "No, Director. We're informing you that the galactic order has already been restructured. You just didn't notice it happening." Chen's image began to fade. "You have 18 hours remaining to transfer payment or begin serious negotiations. After that, we move to Phase 3. "What is Phase 3? Halfmere asked urgently. Chen's smile was the last thing to vanish. "You don't want to find out." The communication channel went silent, leaving the council representatives staring at each other in stunned disbelief. For the first time in galactic history, a single species had successfully challenged the combined might of the council. General Krextor was the first to speak. "We cannot give in to these demands. If we surrender to human blackmail, every species in the galaxy will see us as weak." "And if we fight them?" Ambassador Yathara countered. "How do we wage war against an enemy that controls our own infrastructure?" Director Halfmere activated his personal analysis programs, trying to find some weakness in humanity's position. The data was overwhelming. Human technology was integrated into every aspect of galactic civilization. Their mercenary forces had gained access to classified information from dozens of species. Their strategic position was nearly unassailable. But there was something else, something that worried him more than their technological advantages. The humans had demonstrated a level of long-term planning that surpassed even Moldari's strategic thinking. They had orchestrated this entire scenario over the course of 3 years, manipulating galactic events to their advantage while appearing to be simple hired guns. "Chancellor," he said slowly, "I believe we need to consider the possibility that we're not dealing with a primitive species that got lucky. We're facing a civilization that may be significantly more advanced than our own." The chamber erupted in protests. But Halfmere continued. "Think about it logically. A species that survived on a Class 12 death world would need to be exceptional just to reach the stars. Their technology isn't just innovative, it's revolutionary. Their military tactics aren't just effective, they're unmatched. Their strategic planning isn't just clever, it's masterful. Chancellor Vorthak's color shifted to a worried orange. What are you suggesting, Director? I'm suggesting that first contact with humanity wasn't the beginning of their expansion into galactic affairs. It was the beginning of their acquisition of galactic civilization. Halthmir's voice carried a note of grudging admiration. We thought we were discovering them. In reality, they were evaluating us. The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. If Halthmir was right, then humanity had been carefully studying galactic civilization for 3 years, identifying its weaknesses and preparing to exploit them. The mercenary contracts hadn't been desperate attempts to earn money. They had been intelligence-gathering operations disguised as military service. So what do we do? Representative Quillen asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, every screen in the chamber activated simultaneously. The image that appeared showed Admiral Chen standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a human warship. But something was different. The ship was larger than any vessel in the Council's records, and the technology visible in the background was clearly beyond current galactic standards. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted beings, Chen said formally, allow me to introduce you to the TDF Retribution, flagship of the Terran Defense Force. For 3 years, you've known us as mercenaries and contractors. Today, you meet us as we truly are. The view shifted to show the exterior of the ship, and gasps echoed through the chamber. The vessel was massive, easily dwarfing the largest Council dreadnoughts. Its hull gleamed with an unfamiliar metal that seemed to absorb light, and weapons of unknown design dotted its surface. This ship represents 3 years of research and development funded by your own payments, Chen continued. Every credit you paid for our mercenary services went into building the fleet that now surrounds your worlds. The display changed to show a tactical overview of the galaxy. Hundreds of red contacts had appeared throughout Council space, each one representing a human warship that had somehow remained hidden until this moment. Phase 3, Chen announced, is quite simple. Since you seem reluctant to pay your debts voluntarily, we'll be repossessing our collateral. Every world that hired our services, every corporation that used our technology, every species that benefited from our innovations now owes us compensation. Director Halthmir stared at the display in horror. The human fleet wasn't just large, it was positioned with surgical precision to strike at the most vulnerable points in galactic civilization. Trade routes, manufacturing centers, population hubs, all were within range of human weapons. This is madness, Chancellor Vorthak whispered. You're talking about galactic war. No, Admiral Chen corrected. I'm talking about debt collection. But if you insist on making it a war, then so be it. Earth's children have been fighting for survival since before your species discovered fire. We're very good at it. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. Outside their windows, stars that had shone peacefully for millennia now harbored an enemy that could strike without warning. The age of galactic peace was over. The time of the Deathworlders had begun. 6 months after the first demands for payment, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. What historians would later call the Terran integration had reshaped political boundaries, trade relationships, and the very concept of galactic civilization. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above New Geneva, watching cargo ships loaded with exotic materials from 17 different worlds dock at the massive facility. The station itself was a testament to humanity's new position in the galaxy. Built in the 4 months since the Council's capitulation, it served as the primary hub for the Terran Trade Consortium. Where once Earth had been a forgotten backwater world, it was now the beating heart of interstellar commerce. Captain Webb, came a voice behind him. He turned to see Director Halthmere approaching, the Moldari's robes flowing elegantly in the station's artificial gravity. Over the months, the alien analyst had become something of an unofficial ambassador between the Council and the new Terran administration. "Director," Webb replied with a nod. "I trust your inspection went well?" "Better than expected," Halthmere admitted. "Your efficiency improvements to our trade protocols have increased profit margins by 37% across the board. I must admit, I'm curious about the long-term implications." Webb gestured toward the viewport, where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the stars. "The long-term implications are exactly what Admiral Chen promised from the beginning. Partnership, not domination. Mutual benefit instead of exploitation." "And yet," Halthmere said carefully, "humanity now controls the most powerful fleet in galactic history, holds patents on the majority of advanced technologies, and has trade agreements that essentially make you the economic center of known space." "True," Webb acknowledged, "but consider the alternative. We could have simply taken what we wanted by force. Instead, we chose negotiation and integration." The Moldari's analytical mind processed this. The Council paid their debt in full, despite the economic hardship, but the price was essentially surrendering galactic leadership to a species that was unknown 6 months ago. "Leadership was never our goal," Webb said firmly. "Survival was. Respect was. The ability to determine our own destiny without interference from species who saw us as useful animals." Through the viewport, they could see the construction scaffolding around a massive new vessel. The ship was unlike anything in previous galactic designs, its hull incorporating materials and principles that pushed the boundaries of engineering possibility. "The TDF Prometheus," Webb explained, noticing Halthmere's interest. "She'll be the first of the new exploration vessels. Human drive systems, Valkyrie sensor arrays, Etherian life support technology, and Christhian communication networks. A true collaborative effort." "Where will she explore?" Halthmere asked. "Beyond the galactic rim. There are other galaxies out there, other civilizations. Humanity has learned that isolation breeds stagnation, but so does remaining in one's comfort zone too long." The director's eyes widened. "You're planning to make contact with extragalactic civilizations?" "We're planning to be ready when they make contact with us," Webb corrected. "Because they will, eventually. And when they do, the galaxy needs to be unified and strong enough to survive whatever challenges they bring." This was the truth that few in the Council had fully grasped. Humanity's aggressive expansion into galactic affairs hadn't been motivated by greed or conquest. It had been driven by the harsh lesson learned on a death world: evolve or die. "Captain," Halthmere said slowly, "may I ask you something in confidence?" "Of course." "How long have your people been planning this? Not the debt collection, but the entire integration of humanity into galactic civilization." Webb was quiet for a long moment, considering his answer. "Do you want the official answer or the truth?" "The truth." "Since the moment we decoded your first transmission." Webb's voice carried a weight of revelation. "When Trader Velnon made first contact, our scientists didn't just learn that we weren't alone. They learned that we were surrounded by civilizations that had grown soft from millennia of peace. Species that had forgotten how to fight, how to adapt, how to survive real challenges." Halthmere felt a chill run through his body. "You saw us as weak." "We saw you as unprepared," Webb corrected. "There's a difference. Your species had built something beautiful, a peaceful galaxy where conflicts were resolved through negotiation and economic pressure. But beauty without strength is fragile, and peace without the ability to defend it is an invitation to conquest." The human turned to face the Moldari directly. "Our analysts ran thousands of scenarios based on what we learned about galactic civilization. Every single model showed the same result. Eventually, you would encounter a threat you couldn't negotiate with, couldn't buy off, couldn't reason with. And when that happened, your peaceful galaxy would fall. So you decided to conquer us first? No, Webb said firmly. We decided to strengthen you. The mercenary contracts weren't just about gathering intelligence and earning money. They were about teaching your species how to fight again. Every battle we fought for you was also a lesson in modern warfare. Every victory we achieved was a demonstration of what was possible with proper tactics and preparation. The full scope of humanity's plan was beginning to dawn on Halthmere. The debt collection, the technological integration, the economic restructuring, none of it was about revenge or dominance. It was about survival, Webb confirmed. Ours and yours. Earth's children learned long ago that in a hostile universe, there are only two kinds of civilizations, those that adapt and those that become extinct. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Webb activated his personal communicator and listened intently before his expression grew serious. What is it? Halthmere asked. Long-range sensors have detected something, Webb replied grimly. Ships approaching from outside the galaxy. Design unknown, intent unclear. They'll reach the outer colonies in approximately 18 months. The Moldari felt his analytical mind racing through possibilities and probabilities. How many ships? Thousands, possibly tens of thousands. Webb's voice carried the calm professionalism of a military officer delivering bad news. This is why we needed to be ready. As if summoned by their conversation, Admiral Chen's image materialized in a holographic display. Her expression was grim but determined. Captain Webb, Director Halthmere, I trust you've received the sensor reports. Yes, ma'am, Webb replied. How are the council representatives taking the news? About as well as expected. Panic, denial, and demands that humanity solve the problem for them. Chen's tone carried a note of weary frustration. Chancellor Vorthak has requested an emergency session to discuss defense preparations. And our response? Webb asked. We helped them, Chen said simply. This is what we've been preparing for. The galaxy faces its first real external threat in 10,000 years. It's time to see if our integration efforts have been successful. Halthmere stepped forward. Admiral, what do you need from the Council? Full cooperation and resource allocation. Every species contributes according to their capabilities. Human strategic planning, Velkari industrial capacity, Etherian scientific research, Moldari analytical support, we'll need it all. And if some species refuse to cooperate? Chen's expression hardened. Then they'll discover what Deathworlders do to those who threaten survival. But I hope it doesn't come to that. We've worked too hard building partnerships to start breaking them now. The Admiral's image flickered and stabilized. There's something else. Our deep space monitoring stations have been picking up transmissions from the approaching fleet. We're working on translation, but the initial analysis suggests they view this galaxy as uninhabited. Webb and Halthmere exchanged glances. Uninhabited? The director repeated. From their perspective, we're probably not advanced enough to register as true civilization, Chen explained. It's the same mistake the Council made with humanity, but in reverse. They're coming here expecting to find resources and empty space, not an established galactic civilization. Then we have an advantage, Webb realized. Surprise. Exactly, but only if we're unified when they arrive. A divided galaxy fighting among itself will be easy prey. A unified galactic defense force with human tactics and combined technologies might actually have a chance. The weight of the approaching crisis settled over all three of them. The debt that had driven humanity to reshape galactic politics was about to be paid in the currency that mattered most: survival. Admiral, Halthmere said formally, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I want to thank humanity for its aggressive preparation efforts. Without your intervention, we would have faced this threat completely unprepared. Chen's smile was tired but genuine. Director, the debt was never about credits or political power. It was about ensuring that when the real test came, this galaxy would be ready to pass it. 3 months later, the first joint defense exercises began. Ships from 27 species moved in perfect coordination under human tactical command, their crews trained in the harsh lessons of Deathworld warfare. The peaceful galaxy that had existed for millennia was gone, replaced by something stronger and more dangerous. Captain Webb stood on the bridge of the TDF Prometheus as she completed her first patrol of the outer colonies. The massive exploration vessel had been repurposed as a command ship for the new defense network. Around them, the combined fleets of a dozen species maintained vigilant watch against the approaching threat. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "incoming transmission from Earth. Admiral Chen has confirmed that translation of the alien signals is complete." "Put it through," Webb ordered. Chen's voice filled the bridge, carrying news that would reshape everything once again. The approaching fleet calls itself the Hegemony of Eternal Dominion. They're a conquest force sent to claim this galaxy for their empire. According to their transmissions, they've already consumed 17 other galaxies. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just another territorial dispute or resource conflict. This was a battle for the